Hello and welcome to the Hall of Fame Huddle live broadcast, week number 7. We've been going strong since the beginning of December. John, how are you feeling?
Good, doing well tonight. Just getting by the busy week that we have here with everything going on in the world outside of sports, and still mourning the Browns' loss of the weekend, but overall doing pretty good. How about you, Rich?
Man, I'm doing awesome. Recovering from Classic in the Country.
Yeah, you were a busy man over the weekend, I saw.
I mean, it wasn't the same, but it was pretty close. I mean, there wasn't the only difference was the crowd size. There was no entertainment team this year because everybody had to leave between games, so that wasn't something that could be done very easily. So that was a part that didn't get done. But other than that, it was about the same. There was a lot of great games. We're going to talk to Paul Wackerly here in a couple minutes. Glen Oak got a big win down there. Hoover got a win. Jackson obviously played Highlands, so they were a little on the unfortunate side. Who else?
Yeah, I was gonna say Highlands beating teams from how many different states now? They beat a team from Nevada over the weekend. Them and didn't Newark play them too?
Yes, there were 2 big comebacks yesterday at the Classic that it's just, I mean, I think one was 18 points, one was 25 points. Like we were seeing things that were just unreal yesterday.
Yeah. I still need to make it out to one of those next year. I'm gonna vow from now to make it out to the Classic in the Country next year, because as much as I like girls basketball, I'm disappointed in myself for never having been there.
Well, we hopefully we can get a lot of the.
Rich, I can't hear you anymore.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I have no idea how my mic got muted, but it did. I'm gonna have Clyde Fish on here a little bit later. You're probably gonna be gone, but we're gonna go over more of the Classic a little bit later. We also have Coach Walters from Sheridan, who played there yesterday. He's gonna be with us after Coach Wackerly. So we will have a common Classic theme today, but we'll see. I'm waiting on Paul to give us a call, but yeah, Glen Oak did very well. I mean, they played Toledo St. Ursula.
Yeah. I feel like, as is the case most years with Paul's teams, they're kind of starting to find their stride a little bit right now, starting to come together, starting to get more of a high quality effort from some of the role kids, and that's a key. They're getting great minutes out of Lexi Kleptach right now, and Mia Metz I saw at another really nice game the other night too. So you and I have talked about this before, Rich. If they get the role players to step up, they've got the big 3 to get them there. They just need those role kids to step up, and if they do that, they're a tough out. They always are.
Yeah, and Lexi really stepped up in the game on Sunday. She dang near had, man, I think she finished with 17, but she had 14 or 15 just in the first half.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Over the last month of the season, she's gone from being in a slump to being in an absolute hot streak right now where she can't miss, and it's coming at a good time because they have Hoover tomorrow night and then Jackson on Saturday, so they have 2 games that we'll be doing that are really big in the Federal League.
Paul has not called in, so I'm gonna attempt to give him a call.
Well,
Mr. Wackerly, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's been quite a treat tracking you down over the last several weeks.
Oh, well, I get a little slippery sometimes.
Well, we are live now, so you have to be careful what you say. But we got.
Don't talk bad about you.
No, I'm sure you do that plenty anyway.
Oh, okay.
We got John Bazico. You and him are good buddies. He's on here with us live.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about. I mean, you guys got a big win against Ursula at the Classic. The team is a little different for you this year with some of those kids that didn't have huge roles last year have had to really step up. And Lexi Kleptash did that really well on Sunday. Tell us a little bit about how that game went and how the Eagles are feeling.
We're getting there. We're working at it. It's a work in progress for sure. And, I feel good about where we're at. I think the kids' progress and, how we do our system is, coming along. And so, I mean, which is always a good thing. And I don't know. I guess sometimes I'm never happy, I guess you could say sometimes. But, but at the same time, I think we're where I think we should be. I think we're a little further ahead this year than we were last year on our progressions and our roles and getting things done. We're pretty. Our system takes a lot longer because we don't focus on one kid, just making them the stud. We try to make all 5 of our girls players. So when tournament time comes, we have 5 kids playing. So
yeah,
it just takes longer to do that. But it's come a long ways. I mean, we're getting there.
Can you talk about Nia Hall a little bit? That's a kid that you lost midway through the year last year, and she's back now healthy, or at least getting there. She had a big basket against Hoover when you guys pulled that win out in overtime, but her numbers may not be exactly where they were before the injury. How is she coming along, and tell us a little bit about how she's doing this year.
She's coming along the last couple of games. I see a little bit more of a bounce in her step. She don't have the brace on. She's had on for most this year, but she's allowed to take it off now. So she likes that part of it. But I think she's getting a little bit used to it, not thinking about the leg as much. I think for about 8 games there, she was hobbling around a little bit and not doing we wouldn't normally see out of her. But I think out of the Classic, she was getting to the boards like she always did before. But, get some good big rebounds for us and looking athletic. And so, I was pretty happy to see her bounce back. I see it a lot in practice right now. Her scoring's better, but in games it's coming along, but it's not quite there. But Nia was always, even when she was like a sophomore and Kent was recruiting her and that, she was, up 13, 10, 13, 12 rebounds, like 13 points, 12 rebounds. She's not really that far from that. I think she had 13 rebounds. They already had 9 points. So, she's not really too far away from being a double-double girl. I mean, she's starting to get that, which is huge for us. She's just a good athlete. So we're pretty happy seeing her the last 2 games especially. I've kind of seen her getting after a little bit more, so I'm kind of excited about that. I think it's going to help us a lot.
Paul, I know that last year, I mean, I knew so much about the story because we talked 100 times last year, but I know that last year things timed out perfectly where you guys peaked at the right time. You were, tournament ready by the time that you got to the district final. You mentioned putting the system in, which I know how that works for you, but how do you make sure that you peak again at the right time? Because that is such a key when you're in this time of year.
Yeah, I really think it's not worrying about your wins and losses early on, honestly. I think it's more about, really having that progression of, certain kids, getting one kid going and getting the next thing going and tweaking the offenses a little bit, maybe on your spacing or whatever you're trying to do, and figuring your personnel out a little bit more. We're probably a little bit further ahead with our starters this year, but we're probably a little behind on our bench. So that kind of weighs out a little bit for us right now. But I think it's hard to explain, John, because I don't know the difference, but I know people that have coached other places that coach with me now and stuff. They they see things completely different. I don't know it's different. That's my problem. That's why I have a hard time explaining this when people ask this question to me. Because I think everybody just does it this way. I don't know if I've never really coached under anybody, so I don't know how a lot of systems done it. I've always just worked my way up through, and this is what I've done and learned over the years, and I got better at doing. So we don't really we add on as we go, but I don't know. I mean, I think Lexi and Mia, that they're starting to get their roles. I mean, that's the stuff you see out of our team is that kind of stuff. I mean, all of a sudden you see a couple of kids look a little bit better. I think last year it was more Breezy and Jordan, but start really get going because they were younger, And the Mackenzies and the Lexis and the Cams did okay. So I this year I think it's more the new, because Mia, and Lexi are the ones that do. If you really think about it, even though they're seniors, because Naya, Jordan and Breezy, they've had game starting experience. So now you're seeing those two starting to pick up a little bit. It just happens that way. I can't explain how, but it just how our system works, I guess.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people always try to ask you that question because I ask you that question a lot too, and I feel I've gotten a better grasp on it. But I know a lot of it is not just working on stuff on the court, but also working on that mental side of the game off the court. Isn't that a big portion to it as well?
That's huge for me. I'm definitely more than the psychology part of it. I do a lot of that. I mean, and I think we teach the game a little bit different in practice too. I'm just telling you what I've been told. I don't know, and I'm not saying my way is the greatest way. I don't know what everybody else does. I just know how I do it. But I just know people that have always coached with me and come and gone through the years. They've always made a comment to me how they think our practices are done so different. Our teaching is done different in the psychology part of it. Our analytics, we really, do a lot of teaching in that end of it. We study those pretty heavy. So we do a lot of different things that I think that maybe some people might be surprised. I've had people, like I told you, they've come in and watched. Guys are retired before that come, and then they watch. And I've had some college coaches come in, and they would say, "Your practice is a little different." Never knew what they meant, but I think maybe I'm just different.
Well, didn't you? You told me you inspired Scott Garcia a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah. He told me. I mean, I don't know if he was just make me feel good. It might be just a feel good type thing, but he did tell me that when he got back into the football, he actually talked before he thought about getting back in it, and I wasn't really that keen about him getting back in that position. When he talked to me about it, but at the same time, I understood. But when he did it, I said something to him about it, and he just said, Paul, I learned. I mean, my couple years off there, he came to our practices a lot and watched. And I just thought he was just coming to see us, whatever. But he told me there's a lot of things he saw and he learned of how I communicate and how I did, how I changed habits or get kids to buy in. And he talked to me a lot. I mean, we talked. He come to my office. We talk sometimes for 45 minutes and just sit there and we talk about philosophy. And so yeah, he I was kind of honored he said that to me. But I thanked him. But I think he's just being nice actually. So, but yeah, he did make the comment though. So yeah.
Coach Lashley, I want to ask about Jordan Weir. That's a kid that is sometimes a nightmare matchup for opposing teams. And, as a freshman, she rarely got on the floor, maybe a little bit here and there. And then last year she was working on, you got her from playing 3 or 4 minute spurts to playing, the majority of the game. What's next in Jordan's progression as pretty much an unstoppable 6'5" post player in most cases?
Yeah, her outside game, because she could actually shoot it pretty good. So we're going to work on that. That stuff matter of fact, our very first play of the game down at the Classic, she actually drove and did a little 8-foot jumper off a little set we ran, and she made that. I think I don't know how to be but I know some like my friends back here that were watching it, made a comment like, "Jordan, man, she put the ball on the floor and hit a little 8-footer." And we've been working on that. That's actually a set play that we called, so we're working on that, getting her popping out a little bit instead of just standing down there. So, she literally, believe it or not, she can shoot the three pretty good for us. So, we just got to do something. I don't know how much we're going to do with that this year, but I think that's going to be coming out, and I think that's going to be showing up a lot next year, though, for sure. And then it's going to really be tough, I think, if she starts doing that kind of stuff. But she's coming along. She's been back. She takes her a while to really get the full game minutes in. She's still not getting a full right now. She's still not at that point where she was last year, but she's coming though.
Mm-hmm.
And it just takes a long time for her body. She has asthma pretty bad, so we got to watch that a lot. And it takes her time to really get that under control because it's pretty serious. And it depends on the weather and what's going on. It can affect her.
Yeah.
So so we watch that, and but yeah, she's coming along. She's definitely coming along.
You guys made your second straight trip to Columbus last year, and I know the first year was very special for you guys, particularly for those players that had never experienced that. And then you went through a lot of adversity in the off season, and you made a return trip to Columbus. Tell me how that felt for you to take those kids through all that stuff that had happened, and then literally do what most people thought you couldn't do, to an extent, myself included. How did that second one feel different than the first one?
Well, we had a lot of adversity, and I think that I had three seniors, especially the seniors maybe more so. But then when Anaya got hurt, that really kind of set us back a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Early in that year, we beat Moon and Walsh pretty good when I was playing. So our team was, rocking pretty good actually. But when she went down, I think we kind of, it didn't help us there. So we had a lot of stuff we had to do, and there was a lot of counseling going on at that time, and there was a lot of talking. But my kids, my seniors especially, they bought in, and they had a lot to prove, and they would talk a lot about it. I mean, a lot about how they're going back. They're not going to let this thing go and blah blah blah. So we had a little chip on our shoulder. I think that kind of helped, and we just stuck with it. It just. It's probably my finest coaching hour of my whole career, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Watch those kids develop like they did and how they came together like it did. You couldn't write a book better than what we did. It could have been a movie. Have all five new starters. I mean, Division One. I don't know. I've never really researched it, but I would have to be hard pressed to see if a team lost five starters and come back and win the Final Four again. I think it's pretty hard to do. Usually you see teams make it when they have a group of kids for a couple of years, and then when they graduate, you don't see them come back a little bit less. It's, a team that's a private school that gets kids to come in. But a public school doesn't happen too often. You take what you got, and you got to go with it. But, but those kids, I can tell you, they never stop believing. We were down in a class, and we got our butt whooped. And then we had two hard games down here. We came back here and only scored 26 on Jackson at home.
Mm-hmm.
On senior night, I remember it. And I can remember the next day, I was in my office doing some stuff, and we were working at that time. We didn't do it against Jackson. We were already working at that time with some new stuff. And we just didn't put it in because it didn't matter, that game. So we weren't worried about that, the Jackson game as much. So, that league stuff is already done, in our opinion. So we just kind of kept working on what we needed to do. I can remember them coming in my office, and all three of them just said, hey, Coach, I know it's been ugly, but don't worry. We're going to bounce back. We're going to make it. I'll never forget. I've never had kids come in after your butt kicked like that and come and tell you that. And I'm looking at them almost cross-eyed, like, are you kidding me? Yeah, but they were just as much as doing psychology on me as much as I was doing on them, because I had a tough time with it. So that kids really helped me through it.
Yeah.
I don't know, a big lesson about trust, and I learned a big lesson about kids on having a belief, and they were really special.
Well, Coach, I know that you haven't, that whole situation. But I want to give you the opportunity, and you don't have to say anything. You can say whatever you want. a lot of things in that situation that were, you never had the opportunity to defend yourself or even give your side of anything. But again, you can say what you want. You don't have to say anything. I want to give you an opportunity to clear your mind and be able to stand up for yourself or even just, whatever you feel. If it's nothing, it's nothing. But here's your platform. If you wanted to say anything.
Well, we talked about this, my team, in the beginning of the year, and I had opportunities at some radio stations to call, and I had newspapers from all over the state, including Cincinnati. I had a paper called me from Oregon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they called, and then that's how big of a news it was getting spread around. And
yeah.
I was getting calls from news outlets. I mean, and my kids, I went in, and I believe in coaching. There's lessons in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you really, I know a lot of coaches talk about that, but I don't think a lot of them really follow through with it because when it becomes an adult game, adults get involved in this game and can mess this game up. The kids stay in this game, but they never mess it up. It's not the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning of the year, we talked about it, and I told them, I said, listen, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be said. There'll be a lot of things. I said, they got the guys that are involved. They're going to have, state's going to be involved. I said, they know the people know what they're talking about. And I said, just try to trust the process. And I told them, I said, you're never going to hear me badmouth or say anything bad about anybody, even the ones that left. I said, because in life, you let things get handled. You control what you can control, and then you just go from there. I said, or you can let it get to you. And if we would have done that, we would have never made what we did last year. Because we just stayed focused on what we're doing. We didn't let the noise bother us. And we stayed, and I like that to this day. I'm not here to badmouth nobody. I'm not here to saying, people make choices, and sometimes they'll be saying, in that case, they had to make some choices that weren't the most honest things being said, because there was a lot that was done, but at the same time, it all worked out because, the lines and everything in the beginning, the noise always takes over. And at the end of the day, though, a long period of time, I don't care if it's politics or whatever, at the end of the day, the truth does rise. And the ones that know it are the ones that believe in it anyhow, and that's the ones you trust. I mean, so I always tell them, my friends and that, I hang around, I live my life through relationships. And I tell kids, I said, you can be happy, you can have a lot of money, you can have a lot of things, but if you don't have really good relationships in life, you're not really going to be that happy. You can be a phony person, be a lot of things. I said, but relationships is what causes the true happiness in life. I preach this a lot. And I said, so I've always, my whole life, has made sure I hung around with good people. And that's what makes me happy. And it doesn't matter. If good people around you, you're always going to be happy. And so we did it that route. And then, and to this day, I don't have to tell my story because the story got told at the end. And as we know, I mean, we were still playing and we were still doing things, and some people weren't. So, and then that went through a private investigator, that went through the state, and that went through a court system. When you go 3-0, it's pretty good. There's something being set for you.
Yeah.
So, and that's all we got to say. We let the system win.
Yeah, Rich, I wanna say being there for that ride last year, and Paul knows because he and I have talked privately, but. I mean, there's covering that, seeing that happen. There's very few high school stories that you'll ever see that'll rival everything that happened last year. I mean, and to be there to spend so much time as I did with him and see everything that he went through, it was a special experience for me too, as a young broadcaster, I guess I could say, to experience something like that quite frankly, even at the pro level, would be like a challenging thing to come over. If you had something like that happening. So the fact that, Paul was able to do that, Coach, how I feel, but,
I know. Yeah, I know. And our kids learn a lot though, John. I mean, it wasn't about how I thought at the end. I mean, it's amazing when you talk to those girls now, what they've learned, how they learned so much about how you just turn the other cheek and, and you just go do what you can control and stay with it and never lose focus on what your goal is. And grit beats talent. I mean, grit will take over if you just stay gritty and believe it and just keep working. at the end it'll happen, and that's exactly what happened. We were just gritty. Our kids just kept the course, and the next thing you know, we're in the Final Four. It's just, it's all because of that, just that work ethic and that belief. And I think, it was a great lesson for those kids. And I'm more proud about that lesson than anything I've ever done. Forget the, titles and district championships and all that stuff. There was stuff that kids will never, they're going to take that stuff and learn. I mean, they'll pass that on to their own kids when they do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They saw it work and they believe it. They'll never have to be like, you don't have to worry about burning other people or an eye for an eye. It just doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach Wackerly, I know one thing's for certain. No matter what happens this year, I know you guys are in the driver's seat for the league, but you never feel comfortable there. You got the big game against Hoover tomorrow. Nobody's going to count the Glen Oak Golden Eagles out this year. That's for sure. No matter what the record is, no matter what happens in the league. After what you've done the last 2 years, you guys you got to be the team to beat. So we want to thank you for coming on the show, and good luck tomorrow, and good luck the rest of the way. We'll definitely be staying in contact.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. You guys are great guys. I appreciate your stuff you've done, Rich and John. Of course, your support has been huge, and I'll never forget it.
Even though you think I'm a Jackson homer.
Well, that's okay. There's a lot of them out there.
The funny thing is, you think I'm a Jackson homer. Jackson thinks I'm a McKinley homer. Hoover thinks I'm homer for everybody but Hoover. It's a no-win situation.
No, you're not in a good situation. I believe that. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, have a great night. Tell the wife I said hi, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Rich, that took a little longer than I thought I was going to, so I gotta have to jump off.
No problem, man. Hey, get ready for a big show tomorrow, and hopefully
you gonna be there?
The world survives tomorrow.
You gonna be at the Glen Oak? You gonna be at the Glen Oak Hoover game tomorrow night?
I'm not sure yet. I may be. If I go anywhere, I'll be there. But I haven't worked in like a week, so I think I need to make a little bit of money tomorrow.
I would say earn a paycheck. That'll help you out.
Exactly.
It always does. All right, take it easy, man.
All right, Johnny. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right, we got Brandon Stewart. That is a great commentator's name. There's got to be some other Stewarts that are famous for being hosts, right? John Stewart.
They're better than me, so they must have been. I tried. I only made it as far as minor league baseball, so
For everybody that's listening, Brandon's going to jump on with us and be the co-host, so I don't have to talk to myself the rest of the show. He is the current head coach at Hathaway Brown High School. Is employed at Ursuline. Is a former Ursuline D2 coach. So we'll talk to him a little bit more later about how things are going on up there. But for right now, we are going to talk to Coach J.D. Walters from Sheridan. How are you doing, Coach? I'm
good. Nice to be on here.
Hey, thanks for hanging in there with us and being patient. It's probably not the best day to catch you on for an interview. I know last night your undefeated season ended, and it wasn't. It was a comeback lead that you guys lost, and some for coaches hard to swallow. But just tell us a little bit. You guys gave up that 18-point lead to Hoban. You have a ton of talent on your team. How are the kids handling that today? And, where's the confidence level for the Generals?
I think the kids handled it well today. We spent the first hour of practice watching that game. We watched the first quarter when we were struggling rebounding the ball. And then we watched the whole second half in overtime. And the kids were taking notes on all the easy opportunities of missed layups that we had and free throws and points that we gave up just by not getting back in transition. And we had not practiced in 6 days. And so I know they were a little bit tired, but I think that was exacerbated by the fact that we were missing easy layups. They were making a run. They had the momentum, and we were letting that impact us. And we were getting overwhelmed. And everything spiraled out of control. You saw it the next game with Reynoldsburg too, where once the momentum's lost, it's hard to get it back. And so that's kind of, the second time that's happened to us in the last 2 years, because we lost the regional semi game last year. We were up 9 in the fourth quarter. And same thing, that momentum got out of control and it's have a hard time getting it back. So we just talk about we have to be able to finish, and we had plays to make. We had wide open layups and free throw opportunities to seal the game, and we never could make that play to get us over the edge. I thought we had it there for a second when Jamison hit a 3 and put us up 7 with 2:30 to go, but they came right back down and got it to 5, and they give them credit. That Carly, is it Anchor or Anchor?
Carly Anchor, yeah.
Yeah, she hit, a great shot. She did it patiently, a shot fake and everything that normally they just catch and shoot. So you give her credit. She made great plays, and they made their free throws. So they did the things in that second half they needed to do to win.
That was the first game that they actually had Anchor playing the 1. Of course it had to happen against you, but
I noticed they didn't have the one girl play at all. The freshman that's been starting, she didn't play at all against us.
Callaway. They made that change. Obviously, it took them a minute to get adjusted to that, but once they got rolling, it was, our
first half, we were 7 of 11 on threes. Second half, we started 1 for 11. So it makes a big difference when you're not knocking those. We were getting the same shots, the transition 3. I think Jamison missed like 3 straight in the third quarter that were wide open when she hit 3 straight in the first half, and our girls that came off the bench each hit 1. So we hit like 6 threes in the second quarter during that run. So things look so much better when you're making shots because we're getting the same looks.
Coach, what do you think? Obviously talked about the regional game last year, and then this game, a loss now, going towards the tournament here in a couple of weeks. What can you said you watched the game, you took notes and all that stuff. What can you learn from a game like this so it doesn't repeat in the tournament? Not that this game doesn't count or it doesn't matter, but, you'd rather do it now and learn it now rather than in the middle of March.
Yeah, that's what we tried to talk to him about. Classic and country is so great because it gives you matchups you'll never have the rest of the time. Like, we're never going to see a team. Besides this week we played Gahanna. That was a scheduled non-league game. But in our league, we're never going to see a team as big and as athletic as Archbishop Hoban was. And so there's a lot to be learned. They expose your weaknesses. When you face a team that does stuff that nobody else on your schedule does, they expose things. So, like today, just working on the ability to keep our feet moving on the rebounds when we're going up against bigger and stronger girls. We're not able to use our athleticism against them because they're more athletic than we are. And our guards, we were having a difficult time of getting them off of us with their pressure. So trying to create space on how to do that, understanding the rules that are involved with 5 seconds calls and things like that. So just getting to practice and see the things that we struggled with and trying to correct those. Baseline out of bounds defense. They got us 5 points of their last 8 points in regulation were on baseline out of bounds defense. So working on our positioning on how we need to be. Those are things that you have to practice, and we haven't had that practice because we've been quarantined 5 times this year. But
that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, we've lost 12 games at this point, up to this point of the season. So we're just trying to get some continuity. The girls I thought played terrific for not having. We had Zoom practices for Hoban, and then we went to the gym early that day and walked through their sets and how to defend it, and we just came out and played hard and made shots, and then second half it spiraled out of control. But that's things we got to work on in practice. But they expose things that we now know we need to work on.
Let's talk about Jamison Stinson for a second. Obviously Faith Stinson is your junior post player, and Bailey Beckstead's your junior point guard, and both of those kids are very, very good. But that was the first time I got to see the freshman Jamison, and she was phenomenal. She wasn't perfect, but she really came out and started hot. She looked like she was playing with a lot of confidence. Tell me a little bit more about Jamison, how she's doing so far this year.
She's had a lot of big games for us this year. Anytime she gets space, she's going to be able to knock some shots in. And so the team that was pressing like they were and committing to the ball, she was getting some open looks. And if she's open, you better not hope she makes one early, because then she gets going. And so she hit 6 threes yesterday. She had another game this year where she had 7 of them through 3 quarters and 29 points through 3 quarters. So
Wow.
yeah, she's got that ability to light it up, and she's not afraid to shoot it. You see if she catches it and she's open, she's letting it fly, which is what we want. We still got things, obviously, she's got to work on, and clock management, and defensively, she's still improving. Although I thought she had a huge defensive play in the game where it was tied up and she got a steal on the top of our 1-3-1 and took it in for a layup. I thought she did a lot of nice things in transition as well as shooting the ball yesterday. So, I thought that was one of her best games for sure. Not just shooting the ball, but I thought she actually really committed to defending as well.
Mm-hmm. I meant to ask you last night, and again, thanks for giving me so much of your time. I interviewed you after the game, and now you're back on the show today. And for the listeners, we planned on this a week and a half ago. So this, if it wasn't planned ahead of time, I probably would have waited a week and not got you right after loss. But you guys have the good junior class, and yet now you have Jamison as kind of part of the top 3 players. You got your role players, I thought, looked really good yesterday for the most part. Do you feel like there's a 2-year window for you guys to kind of get back to the state finals and make a move? Or, is there more coming up that basically, is this a 2-year plan, or is there some life after that?
No, yeah, there's life after that. Obviously, it's hard. You're not going to have a player like, Faith that's got multiple Division I offers, 6'1" post player that can handle it, shoot it. I don't see another one of those, in our future right now. But definitely these next 2 years we want to take advantage of, because anytime you got, Bailey's already got full ride scholarship offers. Jamison's going to probably get some. Even our role player, Sarah Robinette's committed to Rio Grande. Grace Conrad, she could play basketball somewhere if she wanted to. She's playing volleyball, though, in college. So right now, we've got a good core. Abby Dupler's, like you said, a good role player. She's normally a really good rebounder for us. And then Kenzie comes off the bench as a junior. So everybody's back except for Grace and Sarah. And so 4 of our 5 starters are back next year. And we do have some young, 8th graders that can maybe potentially contribute when they get up here, mostly at the guard position. But I think it'll be interesting these next 2 years. Anytime I feel like you got multiple scholarship players on your team in Division II, you got a chance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Division I or if you're with Highland in D3, where you've got 5 girls that all have scholarships on the floor. So if you got a nice core group and then your role players can be stars in their roles, you've got a chance.
Yeah. Stu, are you guys D2 or D1?
We are D1. We're one of the smallest D1 schools, I think, in the state. Last year we were the smallest.
D2 forever and ever, but
when they went on,
take some of those scholarship players at the D2 level too. But I guess you're D1, so it's a different animal.
Yeah, it's definitely different. We definitely, last year said we were the smallest D1 school in the state, and this year I think we're like in the bottom 10. I'm not sure how we got bigger, but the state said we did, so we did. It's definitely a different challenge. But I was going to ask Coach too, for those that haven't been, and Rich did a great job, obviously covering the Classic in the country. I haven't been since I was at Mid-Park as an assistant years ago now, but just that experience at the Classic. I know it's a little bit different this year with all the COVID stuff, but, going down there and being a part of that environment, what was that? Was that the first time for your kids?
Yeah, this is for all of our varsity girls, it was the first time, I think besides Grace, that they actually got to play on the varsity floor. We were there 2 years ago, the year we made the Final Four. We went and we were supposed to play Minster, so we drove all the way out to the western part of Ohio to scout them, and it was actually a great trip. But then everything got messed up because the ice that year.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up playing West Holmes because they could fill in. They were right there, and it was a great experience. We were at the hotel, and we walked up the hill to the Der Dutchman because our bus couldn't even drive up there because there was so much ice on the road that year.
Wow.
But yeah, the games were delayed the day we played, but that was fun. We got up there. We got to win that year. This year, obviously, we got a big lead against a team that is extremely high caliber team, and yeah, the fans. This is the first game for us that we've had a lot of fans at, because we've been limited to 2 fans per family. So we have on our varsity team, we have 2 sets of sisters. So really, we only have a maximum of 18 parents in our crowd for the first 10 games of the season. We played one game with 11 fans on our side. So, I mean, it's weird the different schools and what they allow. So we've recently changed that. So we're going to start getting some more fans now to our games, which is nice.
I remember really with the Classic, like the best part about it is just the off the court stuff. Really, like the game, obviously it's always going to be a great matchup, but like watching the other games, being around that environment, the games that they did at halftime and the dancing and like all that kind of stuff, like it's all the bonding stuff that you get to do without having to go too far.
Yeah, that was one thing that kind of was disappointing this year. We had our hotel booked and everything, and then we had, because of all the COVID stuff going on, we had to cancel that. So half of our team, we had to ride up. We met at the school at Sheridan at 6:45 in the morning. I had to drive them up in a van that day, and then we had to go through a walkthrough there, and then we played. And then
it's almost like a summer.
I stayed for one game, and we had to leave. So we didn't get to. Half the girls, they did go up with their parents because we were in quarantine until the day of the game. So we couldn't.
Wow.
So we couldn't even go there and hang out as a whole team.
Right.
And there was no entertainment this year, Stu. They had to clear the gym after every game, so it was clear the gym, spray everything down, then get the next game in. But
so grateful still that they had it though. That was a terrific event that they put that on still. A lot of people would have just said we're not doing that multi-team event, but they kept at it. That was great that they had that and the journey to the tourney, because they got more teams involved in it too, because they were on the same weekend.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, I had the event at Walsh early in the season, and it just at that point there was a lot more unknowns than there is now, and so I understand the conflict. Well, should I continue with it or should I not? Or it is nice that they could see it through, especially it was Dave Schlaball's last this is his last year. He's retiring, and if they would have had to cancel the Classic in his last year, that would have just been wrong.
He might have come back.
He might have came back.
Well, I think too with the multi-team. I mean, you look at the state tournament this year and how everything's going to be divided. I know for Division I we're doing. I'm assuming it's the whole tournament, but like it's home sites through till regionals for districts, so it's not going to be the multi-team, events. Like you go to one site and 3 or 4 teams are at that one site. So, I mean, that's going to be different this year as well. Yeah.
Coach Walters, I want to ask you, you got to go to state 2 years ago. I know the situation, again, wasn't perfect for you because Rachel Cook was injured. And when one of your top players is hurt and not able to play, when you get to that stage, it hurts even more. But just talk about the experience and what it felt like to achieve that. Because, let's be honest, not many coaches get to do that. Not many players get to that level. So, walk us through that and how you felt and just, that whole experience.
Well, it was in the making. The year before that we made it to state, we actually lost to New Philadelphia in the regional finals by 4, but we had a shot under 10 seconds. Kendall Mick, who's now at Finley, had a transition attempt at a layup, misses. Emma Conrad, who's Grace's older sister, gets a putback where she gets hammered on you. There's a picture of it in the Times Recorder. Her arm just got blasted. Doesn't get called. We lose by 4. And then that was so heartbreaking as a coach and for the players. And that night I think I was so sick I drove all the way. I live by Buckeye Lake. I drove all the way to the shot that year just to see this stinking shot because I thought we should have been there. And then next year we come back and a lot of the same girls were there. Plus Bailey was a freshman, started for us all year, and then Faith was injured her freshman year at the beginning of the season, but then she'd come on strong. She was healthy by that point. And so having those two added to Kendall and Rachel and, we had a really good senior class that year. But yeah, to get to go there and play, obviously not having Rachel, who was our all-time leading scorer before Kendall broke it last year, that hurt because they played a zone. And so she's our all-time 3-point shooter in every single game, career and season as well. But we fought to the end on that one as well. I think we had it to 3 or 4 points in the fourth quarter, and that's with Zaya Cook scoring 37 points or whatever she scored against us.
How valuable is that, though, for your younger ones that have seen that now and know some of that tradition, kind of have that background in them now to see where it was before?
Yeah, I really think that helps. That makes a big impact. Just being in the regionals 3 years in a row, being at state. So people like Grace and Bailey and Faith, really all of our girls that are in our top 7, they're all, they've all been there before, except for Jamison, who's a freshman, and she went as a fan because her sister was playing. So, it's not the same as a fan, but they still got to be around that environment. And so I think that definitely will help pay, dividends as you get to those big games. They've been around those big crowds, and I think that definitely makes a difference.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for your time again yesterday and tonight. You got a excellent program started, and you guys are rolling. And I fully expect to see a lot more success from you guys. So I'll be definitely keeping an eye on you. I mean, I used to coach Rachel Cook in AAU, so I started keeping an eye on you way back then, and you're doing great things. So we're going to keep an eye, and good luck the rest of the season, and maybe we'll see you in the state Final Four again.
Oh, that'd be great. I appreciate everything you've done for our players over the years, Rachel, and I know the Northeast Ohio Showcase with Bailey and getting those girls some recruitment attention. So I appreciate everything you guys do.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate your support.
All right, see ya.
All right, take it easy. Yeah, he's like I said, I arranged that last week. I felt kind of bad, but he still wanted to do it, and timing. I have all kind of respect for coaches who can talk after a loss, because there's a lot of wisdom that can be shed on losses, just like wins, if not more.
Probably more. I would say probably more.
So it's not always fun, and it's not always exciting, but I appreciate coaches that do it because they're not all of them will. I mean, I tried to interview some coaches over the weekend that lost, and they just flat out didn't even come up. They didn't come up to get interviewed. So I really appreciate that from him.
Yeah, I think it's good to see and see more coaches do that. And again, it's the great thing about it is everybody gets in the tournament. So sometimes those losses, like you said, you usually learn more from them, and you can learn from that and build on it and get ready for the tournament when it really counts.
Well, Stu, after we talk classic and country, we're going to talk Hathaway Brown and maybe even some Ursuline Arrows. And but right now we got Clyde Fish on the phone. How you doing, Clyde?
I'm well. How are you?
Have you recovered from the weekend?
Yes.
I had to try to find somebody who's seen as much basketball as I did this weekend. And
there's not many of us.
There's not. And you were on the short list. I know Josh was also on the list, but he has a game tonight. So thanks for coming on. And
thanks for having me.
Everybody who's seen the coverage of the Classic saw your Fish's 5 for day 1 and day 2. But if you had to pick, let's go with 3 kids. All right, let's narrow the list down from the 10 that you provided to your top 3 kids that played this weekend. Who would that be?
I'd definitely go with the girl going to Ohio State. I can't think of her name. Starts with a V.
Taylor Theory.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah. Theory. She definitely impressed. I mean, especially when you're playing back consecutive games like that. You look at her.
Well, I know being live, boy, there's a lot of pressure with this.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the one from Newark, and as much as I talk about her, I can't even think of her name.
Emma Shoemate.
Emma, yes, Emma.
Yeah, going to West Virginia.
Emma, and especially like I mean, her roles were different too, and like the 2 games, which I mean, from being offensive to mainly having that defensive role that she had in that that second game, which is even tougher task.
Yeah, I mean, it could be said that game 2 was more impressive than the game she scored 20 because she held Taylor Bigby, who's going to Oregon, to 2 points. And
yeah. When you look at that, I mean, she didn't do much on the scoring end, but I mean, you can look at what she kept, her from doing, Bigby from doing, and put those points in her column, and and she's right there. But Newark is just so deep. I mean, every time we talk, me and you, I can't leave a conversation without bringing that team up. But it's just remarkable what they can do. I mean, if another state had a showcase like the Classic in the country, and they were looking at an Ohio team to take, I mean, Newark's got to be top 3. Pretty, You look at the last 3 or 4 years. Them, Highland, Napoleon, who I love. They just won a big game just tonight. But definitely that team is just so deep, and they can get everything done even when roles are like that.
So Napoleon did take Perrysburg.
Perrysburg. Yeah, they were down most of the game. Went into the fourth quarter down by 6. And Emma Pedroza, they were tied at 45, I think, when she hit a 3 with 46 seconds to go.
Oh wow!
Yeah, hung on to win by 5. Perrysburg only has 1 loss. Well, they each only have 1 loss, but and that was at Napoleon too. I think one of the big things with Napoleon, seeing them down there in the Classic, I mean, you talk about how like Newark just like finds a way to win. Like Strock kind of looked like she definitely wasn't herself that game.
Yeah.
That we've seen down there, and then just the way that they win. Last year there was no one that could have touched them at the end of the season, and I think one of the big keys at the end of the season for them was, I mean, you can talk about Emma Pedroza now, but she actually came on toward the end of the season, and provided that like we have a really good borderline great team to now this is a great team, and the only thing that could have stopped them from winning a state championship was a global pandemic. I mean, that was the only thing that was going to stop them.
You're probably right. The West Branch was hot at the time. They upset Laurel.
I mean, one of the best environments. Them in Willard
and Tri Valley upset Sheridan, who we just got done talking to Coach Walters. When you go into the state Final Four, everybody's playing well. So
true.
It's hard.
And I mean, you bring something up with that too. I mean, who knows? Even though they had that experience, and they were just like running downhill at that point. They had that experience in winning big games. They still had that experience of, going down to Columbus, but it would have been hard to bet against them. But you look at what they lost, and Shea Pedroza and the Rieger girl, and even one that didn't get a lot of talk, but was Kate Good. She provided them some solid minutes in some big games. But that team's just really good. Like I said, Strock didn't even play near her best game.
Yeah, and
they still won running away.
I want to go back to Newark for a second, and I'm not sure if we got Brandon Stewart on the line. Well, he's my co-host for tonight since John Bozika had to go get ready for his radio show tomorrow. But did you guys see that Mount Notre Dame? I think Mount Notre Dame is number 1 now, and Newark is number 2. And previously, Newark was number 1, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't care about rankings.
Well, no, I don't care. I think 1 and 2 can be
right.
As long as Newark and Toledo Notre Dame or Cincinnati Mount Notre Dame are 1 and 2, I'm fine with that. But on a weekend that Newark went 4 for 4, they beat the Las Vegas team. They beat Solon. Who else did they play? They play so many games you can't even keep track, but it was very suspicious timing to drop them from 1 to 2 after they won 4 straight games, and 3 of them are against great competition. So,
yeah. And I think you look at Mount Notre Dame, and I mean they're obviously really good, and Newark is really good. So it's like it's almost be 1A and 1B.
Ty, how about that?
And either one could be either one could be A or B at that time, but they're both great programs. But to win 4 games in a weekend against 3 really good teams, and then a team from maybe people just didn't know about the Las Vegas team that they got a kid going to Oregon.
I was just gonna say that could be their only excuse is we didn't know about the Las Vegas team. Who I think I think that might be the story of the Classic is that Las Vegas team. Like, you look at them, playing the three teams that they did, and so you go into the last half of basketball.
Literally.
Yeah, the last half of basketball that they played, you stop right there at that halftime. You look at what their weekend could have been, like a clean sweep. Like, here's your chance to play basketball. Like you're not allowed to play basketball. Here's your chance to play basketball, and you're gonna come. You're gonna go back home, make this long trip, go back home 0-3. And now, instead of that, they had that remarkable second half where Reynoldsburg, just couldn't stop them. Even after the adjustments that they made, they just couldn't stop them. Now, you go back home 1-2, almost having knocked, with the big comeback win, and you almost knocked off one of the best teams that our state has to offer in Highland. So, I mean, that's a big turnaround. I mean, I was watching that coach. Josh and I were talking quite a bit. I was watching that coach all weekend. She did not sit down at all the first two games at all. 2 minutes into
she did.
2 minutes into that first quarter of that game, she had enough. She sat down. She was sitting down. I mean, you could tell in that second game that against Newark that her temperature was just boiling over with them. And like I said, this is your chance to play. And you guys are just. I mean, they were terrible from the free throw line. Like I wrote down what was. Which you would think that stuff would translate, but they were 26 for 46 from the free throw line in the two games, and like from outside 1 of 13 and 5 of 12 in the last two games. I didn't get the stat sheet from the Highland game, but yeah, I mean, what a turnaround that was. And I mean, it's all the little things. You talk to the Sheridan coach, and that game obviously went into overtime. So in an attempt to keep us on schedule, they shortened the halftime. So they didn't even go into the locker room, and she just sat there the whole halftime. Just sat there, and like pretty much didn't talk to them. It was like they had a coming to Jesus moment. And I mean, scored 21 points in each of the last two quarters.
Stu, this was like an AAU tournament. I mean, because they had to get out of there they had a flight at 5:00 out of Cleveland, and the game started at like 12:30, 12, maybe closer to 1. Maybe it was a 1:15 start. But they had to get out of there, so they shortened halftime to 5 minutes, and neither team even went to the locker room. And I noticed the same thing you did, Clyde. The coach's energy was just way different and this woman was intense, Stu. I mean, she was scary.
I watched some of the live stream of it.
She had a Pat Summit look, like she had those arms crossed the whole time.
Absolutely, and I noticed the same thing. She was sitting down there in that last game, and I said something to the guys sitting next to me. I'm like, they're checked out. They're ready to go home.
I won't read too much into this because obviously I wasn't down there, like courtside was. But I mean, there was a time I think like early in the second quarter where she had one of the girls on the bench and she was like, giving it to her, like talking to her. And I watched her. She walked back to the assistant coach, and it was something like, "You go down there and talk to her. I've had enough." And then she sits down. Like she was boiled over, and I mean those players reacted. So give her and them credit.
Well,
because I mean they come out before that. I think the most points they scored in a quarter was like 16, and the rest were like 9 and 4. Something low like that. And then they come out in two quarters and score 21 points in each of the last two quarters.
I don't know if this is the same thing you're talking about, but there was a point, I think it was the second quarter, where a player refused to go in the game. And I think it was 0-0.
Yes, that's the player. I didn't want to say
to get her to go in the game, and she would not go in the game. And both coaches were trying to get her off the bench and get her in, and she didn't go in. And I don't know what was going on. Maybe she wasn't feeling well. Maybe she was hurt. I don't know. But
the game before that, they got into it too.
It was like a J.R. Smith moment.
Yes, that 0-0 before or during the Newark game, like toward the end in garbage time. I didn't see the call, but like the call went against her somehow, and she was yelling at the ref, and the coach said something about, "Well, I don't know why you're yelling at her." Like pretty much like, "I don't know why you're yelling at her. It's your fault." And then the girl just like, but yeah, I mean. You could tell that like they weren't like cohesive, not having played. I mean, not knock on them, just like not having played. But it looked like it all came together there at the end for them.
Who else? We got two players. You got Taylor Theory. You got Emma Shoemate. What's the third player that stood out to you, Clyde?
I'll throw. How about this? I'll cheat a little bit. Well, no, I won't cheat. I'll go with Zoe Miller. I'll throw her in there.
Zoe Miller.
Yes.
I mean, maybe I shouldn't say this, but Zoe Miller had a good first game. I don't think she played real well in the second game.
Well, I was going to cheat because I didn't feel like finding a third player, but I was going to cheat and go with Taylor Stacey for the buzzer beater, the highlight. But
that was a nice buzzer. We had several of those this weekend.
Yes, but how do you go for the steal in that situation? But
that's true. That was
leave that for another time.
But Stu, we started the weekend off with a buzzer beater, almost a buzzer beater. Then we had the two Cedarville kids, with buzzer beaters.
Yep.
We actually between two comebacks, 3 buzzer beaters. A couple of those other games were tight games too. It was actually a really nice weekend of basketball. Newark still just stands out to me. Go ahead.
Agreed.
Go ahead, Stu.
No, I'd say it's something about being on that floor. I mean, obviously the matchups going in, they're going to be, for the most part, pretty good matchups, and you expect good games. But, there's always there's just something different about being down there to play in that environment. And you just almost expect to get a buzzer beater every now and then. But that was a lot.
Not to mention, on Sunday, we got the Browns game on this big 48-foot television.
Yeah, I don't know how I would have handled that if I was coaching. I don't know what game I would have been watching more.
Well, I do know that it had to be approved by the administration. And then once the administration approved it, then they had to go talk to the coaches about it. And the coaches that were coaching during the game also approved it. But if anybody would have said, no, they don't want it up, they would not have done it. I do know that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would have been tough. That was a Mags game, right?
Perk. What was that?
During the game on. I think the Mags Napoleon game. Yeah.
Mags Napoleon game was one of them. And, I can't remember the other one. Maybe the Reynolds. No. I can't remember. But, I want to say about that Reynoldsburg, and I don't mean to go back to this, but I wanted to say it before. I don't think that Vegas team is better than Reynoldsburg, honestly. Coach Walters just said in the previous interview, man, once that ball starts getting rolling, it's kind of hard to get the momentum stopped when you're playing a powerful team. And I think that was the case last night. I think Mari Russell fouled out with literally 6 minutes left in the game, and why she was playing with 4 fouls, early in the fourth quarter, I don't know. My only guess is that, they figured there's enough cushion here that, it doesn't matter if she fouls out.
See, that was my thinking too. Looking at that game, I heard that interview, and that's pretty much what I thought too. Like what I was thinking is they kind of waited a little too long to make the adjustment because, what you just brought up, the cushion. I think they trusted that cushion, like they were caught in between, like in a no man's land. And they kind of trusted that cushion where they're making shots. We'll trade with them for a little bit. They're closing the gap. By the time it's you're in danger mode. It's almost too late. The ball's already going down the hill.
Oh yeah, and I mean it was perpetuated by 5-second calls, by 10-second backcourt calls, and there was one on Twitter this morning. I don't know if you guys seen that, but there was a former Reynoldsburg player complaining about it, saying that it was a quick 10-second, and the video didn't start till the ball was already in bounds. So it was a kind of the video showed that it was the right call. But
there's a rule that you probably won't you'll probably think that I'm nuts, but I remember reading a rule like years ago because something happened with one of those it was a tournament game, and so someone took a shot with 0.3 to go, and they caught and shot it, and the referee still counted it, and you're not supposed to do that. It's virtually impossible.
Mm-hmm.
You can't catch and shoot with less than 0.4.
Yeah.
Anyhow, back then I think it was then I stumbled upon a rule where even if there's let's say 9 seconds comes off the clock and the referee gives a 10 count, there's no arguing that because it's up to the seconds are pretty much up to the referee's distinction how they count. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying, but even if let's say 8 seconds goes off the clock and he says that was 10 seconds, by rule you not only can you not argue that, but his count stance, which makes no sense.
Well, that's why they
obviously wasn't 10 seconds, but
yeah, they switched that in college because of with the shot clock. Now they don't count. They look at the shot clock.
They look at the clock. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it starts at 30 and then it's the 20 and it's still in the backcourt, they know. Like the college refs don't even count anymore.
Right.
They just watch that shot clock. So maybe if we can get the shot clock, then.
Well,
no, we don't want that.
Bottom line, there was. Man, we are not even going to talk about that. But
that's a whole other episode.
We have personally spoke about that before. But bottom line is, Reynoldsburg was up 25 points. There is no one possession that caused that comeback to happen. It was a collaboration of possessions, many of them that allowed that to happen. And one call is not what was wrong there, even if it was right or wrong. But again, I think Reynoldsburg was the better team. They just had it was an unfortunate 2 quarters, and you know how high school kids are.
But I would definitely say that in that Vegas team's defense, I think they're more balanced on what we've seen overall.
Oh, I
for the weekend.
I said that all weekend. That team, when we usually have teams come from out of state, it's really, really athletic teams that maybe struggle with shooting. They're not great shooting team. They just rely on their length and their speed. That team was not one of those teams. That team actually had skill. They could shoot. They were well coached. And it kind of caught me by surprise. And it showed when they played Highland, because, the Highland game with them was a close one the whole time. Highland could not get any distance there. And, I see Highland play AAU teams all summer long, and they do it all summer long when they play teams that aren't as disciplined as them, that rely just on athleticism. Highland usually takes advantage of those teams, but they couldn't do that against the Vegas team because they were.
Well, even that game, they came back a little bit. I mean, you could argue if they had another 90 seconds, they might have stole that.
You're right. Highland was up 58-48. And what was the final? 59
5 or 4
55?
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hit a shot at the buzzer.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. If that was another minute or two, it might have been a different outcome on that.
I mean, that coach, before that second half, she was ready to make them like hitch rides on horse and buggy or something. She wasn't going to let them fly home.
All right, Clyde. Give me one last thought on the Classic before we let you go.
All right, I'll touch on like what you guys are talking about, the matchups. This is one thing like that I preached about, like the Classic being like so great. You look at the matchups, and obviously you have any of these things like Journey to the Tourney or any of these showcases, you're guaranteed to have great players and great teams. But the one thing that the Classic brings that I don't think that those other ones are guaranteed to bring are great matchups. And I mean, OGBR and like whoever else has their fingers on these matchups, I mean, they're just so good. And not knocking Journey to the Tourney whatsoever, but they kind of handcuff themselves by putting themselves at the beginning of the season. When teams aren't established yet, you're still dealing with losing your seniors. And that's you're starting your season with playing a great team before you're really even ready for it. Girls just probably getting done with volleyball. Some teams are running into. So you look at those, and you're going to see a lot of duds. Like a lot of lopsided scores, and that's one thing that like the Classic rarely ever had. You probably have like one each day, honestly, on average.
Yeah. Well,
and the officials, no one talks about that either. I mean, the officiating down there is just like the best that you'll see, whether it's AAU or any level. The officiating for somehow they just get it right. I mean, it's better than state, which state the officiate, like the way they do the officials for down there, the voting and all that. That's ridiculous. But I mean, it's just great all around.
There is one silver lining to having a bunch of COVID and quarantine teams that had to drop out. Is you are able to move things around a little bit and create some different matchups that weren't, you can do it last second and not have to stay with a matchup that might be lopsided. You could fix some of those things. But Clyde, man, it was great having you. I am definitely going to have you back on, man. You you started out a little shaky there, but you got your bearings about yourself, and you definitely
threw me a haymaker.
I mean, I come out. As soon as the bell rings, man, I come out strong. So we ain't got much time to waste. But
you ain't got that Floyd Mayweather game. You just come out throwing.
You are definitely knowledgeable in the girls' game, and next time we get you on, we're gonna have to talk about some teams over your way. How about that?
All right. Yeah, up here in the Dayton area.
Talk about a haymaker.
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later. Thanks, Clyde. Stu, that made my night.
I figured it did. I knew it did.
Oh man, I did not expect that, but we'll go with it.
Right.
All right. Let's go up north a little bit. Let's talk about Hathaway Brown. It's just the Blazers, right? And not Trailblazers.
There it is. Nope, just the Blazers. Yep.
How's the season going for you guys?
Things are going well. You know, we're 4-3 right now. We're coming off of a 2-week quarantine, just like everybody else is.
Shocker.
In some sense of the way, but you know, we started out one. I think you know, we opened up. We beat Cornerstone. We beat Mayfield and Lake Catholic. We had a good one with Chardon where we were down, I think 20 in the fourth quarter, and we got it to like 9 or 8, something like that. And that's 5 seniors on that team, and Cullen does a great job with them up there. And you know, we're young. We're 4-3, lost to Mags. You know, we went there and got down early against Mags, and you know, played well for the next 3 quarters after I think the shock wore off a little bit. But you know, we've got one senior.
That's a tough game because I know how close you and Danny are, and you and Brian, and and that's got to be a strange game to coach. I mean, there's not a whole lot of coaches that are as close of friends as you guys are.
Yeah, and you know, I respect them a lot, obviously, as friends on the court and off the court. But you know, Mags was where we were. You know, they were when Danny took over and Brian got there. Like they were, you know, they won 3 games their first year, and you know, last year when I came out as an assistant in the HB, you know, we had won 3 games towards the end of the season. They've won, I think, 5 games in 3 years, and right now we've got 4 wins already this year. And you know, to see what Mags did and how they built it and the way that they went about it, you know, they kind of laid the blueprint, and I'm just trying to figure out how to make that work for us. And you know, playing them, and you know, we lost by, I think it was like 62-34 or something like that, and it was a lopsided game, but we played well for the final 3 quarters of the game, and we're going to play them again coming up here in a couple of weeks. You know, we didn't have to. But
probably took you out for beers afterwards. After whooping your butt.
Right. And now this time we're going to get them at Ursuline, so we'll get them on the bigger floor and play them over there this second time. But no, they do a great job, and they're one of the top teams in the area. And you know, if eventually we want to get to that level, those are the type of teams that we have to play and the programs that we have to play. So were we ready for it? Maybe not, but I think we'll be more ready for it the second time. Like I said, we start 1 senior. We've got 2 seniors that come off the bench for us, and everybody else, we've got 1 junior, and the rest are freshmen and sophomores. So, you know, the core is there. You know, we've got, you know, 2 freshmen that start for us, 1 freshman, 2 sophomores, 3 sophomores and a senior. So, we're excited.
Tell me about the core. Maybe not all of them, but you know, with a couple. I know the Piscatelli kid. I see she's got some good games so far.
Yeah, Gia. She's a freshman. She's playing really well. I think she's averaging around like 10 points a game. Lucy Castellanos. She's averaging around 11 and a half points a game, and Tegan Clark and Germani Jones. Those are our sophomores, and then Bridget Kennedy is our senior that starts. But that young core, the sophomores and freshmen, they're all guards. They're skilled. You know, they're learning how to play. They're learning how to play within like an open system, and you know, they really we had those 2 weeks off. We haven't played a game since December 29th, and we haven't practiced. New Year's Eve was our last practice before the quarantine, and these last 3 days of practice have been maybe our best 3 practices of the year, which I wasn't expecting. But credit to them, they came back ready, and you know, we play Riverside, Hudson, and Kirtland coming up the next 3 out of 3 games. So it'll be good to get back out on the court and see them play. And they're excited. I think maybe a little bit of it was a wake up call that they saw that it could get taken away, and now they came back and like they've just been really focused. And that's tough to do after you sit for 2 weeks and don't do anything.
I know the transition for you was a different one, going from the assistant coach to the head coach, and you were, I don't want to say you were forced to take it, but you were the best option, and you felt like it was the best thing to do. What were a couple of things that you really wanted to change and put your personal touch on for the program?
Well, I think the big thing was just the culture of knowing what HB's history was. I mean, the team that won 5 state championships, that's just, it's almost unheard of nowadays. Like, I don't know if anybody will ever win 5 like that, like they did in a row ever. I mean, maybe it happens again, but who knows?
Well, Las Vegas is a reigning 6-time Nevada state champion.
Well, there you go. So we got to go all the way out to Vegas to get that. But, part of it was the culture, and then part of it was just letting them play basketball. Like, that was one of the things when I was on Shannon's staff at Ursuline that we really started to do at the college level was playing open dribble drive basketball and not trying to run every single play in America, and just letting them develop the skill and really focus on skill development and just teach them how to play basketball rather than just run plays.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done this year with them. And, we want to get more of them involved in the AAU side of things. Because a few of them play and a few of them don't. And, we want to get them into that stuff. But a lot of it was the culture and just that part of it. And we like to play fast, and we like to and we're going to make mistakes doing it. But I'd rather do that than have them be robots, especially the ones who want to go play in college. Because, the college, it's up, and the good teams are up and down. It's not all of that. So it's been fun to see their excitement level, coming into this year. The senior class had never won 4 games total in their career, and now they have 4 wins this year.
Well, you mentioned college, and that's kind of where you came from. You when I started doing everything that I was doing, you were the assistant at Ursuline.
Yeah,
and for lack of better description, you were one of the first coaches that actually took me seriously and, took advantage of some of the things that I was trying to offer. And then you transitioned into an administrative job there, which you still do as well. But I'm going to give the Arrows a little shout out here because I see that they're not having a bad season so far.
Yeah.
I know they're doing better than what they were predicted to do. Is that right?
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I'm looking back in my messages here on Twitter, and this one's from June 17th, 2014. This is like the first message that I think I got from you on Twitter.
Oh my goodness.
About coming down to watch Aquinas and Glen Oak Summer League. This is in June.
Nicole Newman. I remember that.
And Chaddock and those girls. Minerva was there, and a few of them. So, that was forever ago. But no, Ursuline, they had
we watched that game together. I don't know who was playing. They were playing that. Oh, that was summer.
It was Summer League.
Right.
Yep. It was in June because that was 2014. So June.
Wow. 7 years ago almost.
Crazy. But no, Ursuline, they had a 5-game winning streak, 2 really nice wins over Findlay, one up at Findlay that started the winning streak, and then one down here at our place in a rescheduled game. A nice win over Lake Erie, a really good win over Ohio Dominican. Came up a little bit short against Kentucky Wesleyan, who's obviously a good program, and then just beat Ohio last night. So 6-4 after 10 games, and 2 a year kit. The Clunins are playing really well for freshmen. They've had a couple double doubles. I don't think anybody will ever question how hard they play. They're after every loose ball. They get every rebound. It's amazing to just watch that as freshmen. How they're adjusting to the college game. And they've had a really good start to the year. They've got Walsh on Thursday and then at Malone. So down your way this week. So that'll be two tough tests.
I'll be the first one to admit that I did not see the Clunins going there and starting and dropping double doubles this early.
Yeah, you and me both. I think that
I knew it was going to eventually get there because, like you said, they play so hard and they're so well rounded in their game. But
Right.
To step in as freshmen and in the first 10 games of their careers doing what they're doing, man, I'm so proud of those kids. And
yeah,
not that I didn't doubt them, but, college is a transition, obviously.
It is. And the one thing, that we've always done at Ursuline, like we've always had freshmen play early. I mean, whether it be because of injury or people that, maybe have transferred out or, whatever's happened, but we've thrown freshmen into the fire, and just that's kind of what's happened with Madison and Michaela. They've gotten thrown into the fire, and you're going to play through their mistakes. Like, they're probably the biggest thing. They've had some foul trouble, but you know what? They're aggressive, and you'll live with aggressive fouls out of people like that, because if you need a loose ball, they're going to be the one to dive and go get it.
Oh yeah, and also that league right now is crazy.
It is a roller coaster.
Who in the world would have thought Walsh would have 3 losses right now? I know they're going through some injury problems.
Yeah.
But that was not something that anybody predicted.
Well,
I think Cedarville has a 2-game lead right now, right? They got 1 loss, and then a couple teams at 3.
Yeah, they beat Trevecca tonight. Cedarville did, but Cedarville's only loss was to Ohio Dominican. It was 95-92, and then Cedarville turned around the other day and beat them 93-63. And Ohio Dominican had everybody back, and Cedarville, they're just efficient.
Maybe Ohio Dominican just stay with 6 or 7, and that in itself is amazing that they could have. And really, it's only, honestly, you see the box scores. It's only 5 kids playing, really.
It really is, yeah.
Maybe a 6th kid gives them 8 minutes or 2 minutes, but other than, it's almost 5 kids playing 40 minutes a game, and in the one overtime game, I know. Troyer and Slayball both played the entire 45 minutes. So to do what they did with that with the limited numbers is insane in itself.
Yeah, and you talked about the Newark stuff before. Gabby Stair, that's there, that went to Newark, but was a senior. I think her sister's still at Newark as a point guard, a point guard there. But she's had a great start to her career coming off. I think she's been starting. It's been a mess with everybody coming off the bench and who's starting, and it's changing all the time. But yeah, the league is wild right now. Everybody's finally played a game, so that's good. Trevecca's first game was tonight, so now everybody has a game in. And right now, it's kind of like the race to 11 games to make sure you're eligible for the tournament.
Yeah. So. Hey, Stu, I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for jumping on. I'm always gonna contact you if I need a co-host, because you've been tremendous, and you got the personality for it and the last name for it.
There you go. Anytime.
But again, thank you for everything you've done and all the support over the years, and keep those Blazers rolling in the right direction, man.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Have a great night. Buy your lottery tickets tonight, because it's $850 million. And if you win any, give me a finder's fee. But again, thanks for listening. Do something kind for somebody. Be nice to everybody, and do not be fake. Peace out.